Hi, thank you for watching Digging to China. I'm Dongsheng. Mongolia promised its people a COVID-free summer. Bahrain said there will be a return to normal life. The tiny island nation of the Seychelles aimed to jumpstart its economy. All three put their faith, at least in part, in easily accessible Chinese-made vaccines, which would allow them to roll out ambitious inoculation programs at a time when much of the world was going without. But instead of freedom from the coronavirus, all three countries are now battling a surge in infections. China kicked off its vaccine diplomacy campaign last year by pledging to provide a shot that will be safe and effective at preventing severe cases of COVID-19. Less certain at the time was how successful it and other vaccines would be at curbing transmission. Now, examples from several countries suggest that the Chinese vaccines may not be very effective at preventing the spread of the virus, particularly the new variants. The experiences of those countries lay bare a harsh reality facing a post-pandemic world. The degree of recovery may depend on which vaccines governments give to their people. In the Seychelles, Chile, Bahrain, and Mongolia, 50 to 68% of the population have been fully inoculated, outpacing the United States, according to Our World in Data, a data tracking project. All four ranked among the top 10 countries with the worst COVID outbreaks as recently as the week before in mid-June, according to data from the New York Times. And all four are mostly using shots made by two Chinese vaccine makers, Sinopharm and Pfizer-BioNTech. Jing Dongyan, a virus expert at the University of Hong Kong, said, I quote, "If the vaccines are sufficiently good, we should not see this pattern. The Chinese have a responsibility to remedy this." Scientists don't know for certain why some countries with relatively high inoculation rates are suffering new outbreaks. Variants, social controls that are eased too quickly, and careless behavior after only the first of a two-shot regime are possibilities. But the breakthrough infections could have lasting consequences. In the United States, about 45% of the population is fully vaccinated, mostly with doses made by Pfizer-BioNTech and Moderna. Cases have dropped 94% over 6 months. Israel provided the shots from Pfizer and has the second highest vaccination rate in the world. After the Seychelles, the number of new daily confirmed COVID-19 cases in Israel is now around 4.95 per million. In the Seychelles, which relied mostly on Sinopharm, that number is more than 716 cases per million, 143 times worse than in Israel. Disparities such as these could create a world in which three types of countries emerge from the pandemic: the wealthy nations that used their resources to secure Pfizer-BioNTech and Moderna shots, the poor countries that are far away from immunization, a majority of citizens, and then those that are fully inoculated but only partially protected. China, as well as the more than 90 nations that have received Chinese shots, may end up in the third group, contending with rolling lockdowns, testing, and limits on day-to-day life for months or years to come. Economies could remain held back. And as more citizens question the efficacy of Chinese doses, convincing unvaccinated people to line up for shots may also become more difficult. 1 month after receiving his second dose of Sinopharm, Outgong Bata fell ill and tested positive for COVID-19. The 31-year-old miner spent 9 days in the hospital in Ulaanbaatar, the capital of Mongolia. Outgong said he is now questioning the usefulness of the shots. People were convinced that if we were vaccinated, the summer will be free of COVID, he said. Now it turns out that it's not true. Beijing saw its vaccine diplomacy as an opportunity to emerge from the pandemic as a more influential global power. China's top leader Xi Jinping pledged to deliver a Chinese shot that could be easily stored and transported to millions of people around the world. He called it a global public good. Mongolia was a beneficiary, jumping at the chance to score millions of Sinopharm shots. The small country quickly rolled out an inoculation program and eased restrictions. It has now vaccinated 52% of its population. But on Sunday, June 20th, it recorded 2,400 new infections, a quadrupling from a month before. No vaccine fully prevents transmission, and people can still fall ill after getting inoculated. But the relatively low efficacy rates of Chinese shots have been identified as a possible cause of the recent outbreaks. Pfizer-BioNTech and Moderna have efficacy rates of more than 90%. A variety of other vaccines, including AstraZeneca and Johnson & Johnson, have efficacy rates of around 70%. The Sinopharm vaccine, developed with the Beijing Institute of Biological Products, has an efficacy rate of 78%. The Sinovac vaccine has an efficacy rate of 51%. The Chinese companies have not released much clinical data to show how their vaccines work at preventing transmission. On Monday, June 21st, Shao Yiming, a public health researcher with the Chinese Center for Disease Control and Prevention, said that China needed to fully vaccinate 80% to 85% of its population to achieve herd immunity, revising a previous official estimate of 70%. Despite the spike in cases, officials in both the Seychelles and Mongolia have defended Sinopharm, saying it is effective in preventing severe cases of the disease. But Bayar Ochibat, head researcher of the Scientific Advisory Group for Emergencies at Mongolia's Ministry of Health, said that Mongolia made the right decision to go with the Chinese-made shots, in part because it has helped keep low the mortality rate in the country. Data from Mongolia showed that the Sinopharm vaccine was actually more protective than the doses developed by AstraZeneca and Sputnik, a Russian vaccine, according to the health ministry. Nonetheless, China has been aggressive with media outlets that have highlighted concerns about Chinese vaccines overseas. The Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson said such reporting exposes their unhealthy mindset of denigrating China at every turn. The country has approved 4 vaccines, all made in China, 3 of which are based on the inactivated virus and 1 designed by CanSino Biologics that uses a technology similar to AstraZeneca. If the vaccines turn out not to be able to prevent outbreaks, that could be a problem for China. No doubt about that. Thank you for watching. Please leave a comment and subscribe to my channel. Just click the subscribe button right here. I'll see you again shortly.